Welcome back into the Rounding Third podcast. We got the whole gang here tonight. How are we doing, fellas?
Good. How we doing, boys?
Good, good. Good to be here.
Good week in
Awesome.
baseball.
Oh, for
Right?
sure.
A lot of news and stuff to cover. Can't wait to get going here.
And
Before
college
we get
ball, man. We're getting into the College World Series now.
Ooh.
Good stuff
college
going
is
on the college game,
insane.
too.
Right? So before we get going, like and follow us on Facebook. Also subscribe on YouTube. And we go live every Monday at 8. Okay, leading off tonight, we had a little bit of ownership issues in Baltimore. The brothers are fighting over who has complete control of the team. The younger brother, he was suing their older brother and their mother for control of the team, saying that they had all the power and he had no say. And he was afraid that the older brother was going to move the team to Nashville because that's where his wife is working and has a career in like the music industry and all of this fun stuff. I mean, it's an absolute mess right now. So, I mean, this was the thing that I found out is the Orioles lease is actually up at the end of next year. So a move could be possible. However, the city of Baltimore just spent $1.2 billion to renovate the complex and everything around it. So, I mean, if they move now, that's pretty shitty.
Well, and I guess I was most surprised to learn that the Orioles don't own that stadium. I could have sworn the Angelos family owned that stadium. It's interesting to find out the city actually does still own it, and the Angelos family doesn't, which for them might be the reason to consider leaving. You know, they might want to go somewhere where they own the rights to the facility and actually, can benefit from all the concerts and other events that happen. But I have to ask though, guys, in this case, are they hoping to win control of the Orioles or lose control of the Orioles? Which would you rather if you're going to court? Would you rather win the Orioles or lose them?
Oh, I'd rather own a professional sports franchise.
Oh, absolutely, 100%.
I think that'd be, yeah. I'd rather win them and then move them to Nashville.
Yeah, and then get them the hell out of Baltimore. I mean, that's
No, I love the city. I love that area of Baltimore. The harbor's beautiful. Like, It's a great place to see. It's an awesome stadium. I just think, I think Nashville would be a great place to have a team. I'm not so sure
Agreed.
the Orioles would be the team, but the prospect of having a major league team in Nashville is kind of awesome.
Yeah, I'm surprised there hasn't been one there before.
I heard there's a group of investors and they want to name them the Nashville Stars. Is what?
Well,
what the word
they have a double-A team there now.
Yeah, isn't it the Nashville Sound?
The Sound, yeah. Which, I mean, it doesn't exclude the ability to have a major league team. I'm just saying that they would have to kind of probably figure that out a little bit. But
yeah, no, absolutely. But yeah, I mean, I just don't know if the Orioles actually move if the city. Yeah. I mean, that would make sense why there's no naming rights on the park, right? It's always been Camden Yards ever since it opened. So, I mean, that makes it, city owned, like you said.
Yep.
But yeah, if the city spent $1.2 billion, it's kind of like the Civic Center in Portland, right? They renovated all that money to keep the Portland Pirates there. And the Portland Pirates were like, thanks for the renovation, but we're going to Springfield. Pretty shitty. And that's exactly what the Orioles could possibly do if, their lease is up at the end of next year.
Well, it's just like when the Colts moved, same sort of thing. Anytime you move a professional organization out of a city where they've been embedded, you've got all those, all the jobs, all the infrastructure, all those things tied to supporting that franchise.
Yeah.
That's a big hit to the place they vacate, which is why you just don't see teams move. I mean, hell, the city of St. Louis is still suing the Rams over their move, and that's going to cost them billions in the end to end up making that move to LA. So it's a big deal.
Yeah. I mean, but if the lease is up, the lease is up, right? I mean, they can't really sue them for moving it because they just don't renew it.
Well, right? I mean, the St. Louis Rams had an out. They're still getting sued, and they're going to lose because of all the investments that the city made to support them and keep them there. And then at the last minute, LA said, or the Rams said, "Yeah, no thanks, we're out." And Stan Kroenke's going to end up paying a hell of a bill to make that move. But either way, it'd be hard to take the Orioles just down the highway to Tennessee, to Nashville, when you're so established in Baltimore, you've been there so long.
Yeah, absolutely, I get it.
Could you imagine there's no more Baltimore Orioles? Like all that history,
No,
it's gone.
I know.
Right.
It's like up the Montreal Expos, who nobody cared about when they moved. Baltimore Orioles, who have won World Series, they got a whole slew of Hall of Famers. That's a big one to have just suddenly vacate.
Yeah, I don't think it's going to happen. They're going to stay in Baltimore for a while. I'd be hard pressed to see it happening. I whatever's going on now. I mean, whenever you're posturing against another person, I mean, there's always kind of those rumors and theories that go flying out there. But like when you really get down to it, I don't see them moving, regardless of who wins, whatever. However, it comes out of this battle between the brothers. I just don't see them out of Baltimore.
So the father still owns the team, right? But he stepped aside for health issues and left control to the brothers. And just the younger brother wants 50-50 split, and he's not getting it. The older brother's pretty much like taking the reins and like going with it. I think that's what the legal part of it is like he wants to have 50-50 control, and he feels like he doesn't.
Right. Yeah. So Peter Angelos is the father. He's owned the Orioles for 30 plus years. He's 92, so he stepped down.
Right.
Son John has been running it, and son Luis, I'm not sure how you pronounce it. Looks like maybe Lewis. Feels like John is basically kind of like frozen him out and isn't letting him make any decisions. And they're supposed to both be involved, and and Dad's kind of like quiet on the situation because I don't think he wants the other kid to run the team. Yeah. Well, and John's done a ton of and the kid's done a pretty good job since he's vacated. Given the crap hand that he was dealt when Dad stepped down. So I don't think that anybody sees an issue, but all of a sudden this other brother is he wants his little piece of the spotlight and control, and maybe they can settle it by giving him a cool title and stick him in a corner office and calling it a day. But now this family battle is going to tie up the team.
Yeah.
But I mean, Peter Angelos he's very well respected in the baseball world for what he's done there. So.
Yeah. I mean, I think we said, I don't think they're going to end up going anywhere. I think they've kind of taken that off the table. It was just like a rumor, as in there's a spiff in the ownership that they're going to split, they're going to go. And I think it was just more of when they first dropped it and on Bleacher Report, I tried to share it and they wouldn't let me share it. They were like,
really?
more needs to come out before we'll allow people to share this. So I was like, interesting. But and then more of it came out. And I think today they actually said that they weren't officially going to move, but I mean, who knows? It all depends on what happens in court, I think.
Well, and the process to moving a team is incredibly long. I mean, even if they say, hey, we're going to move to Nashville, unless Nashville has a multi-billion-dollar sports complex already built for them waiting, that's years and years and years to get that up and ready.
It's not even that too, though. They probably, same as the NFL or similar, they would probably need like 2/3 ownership majority to move. Like it goes through, it's not as easy as just the owner being like, I want to move the team.
No, you've got to apply to the league. It's got to get right.
Yeah, the league.
You've got to apply to the league, get it approved. It takes years to move a franchise.
I mean, unless you're the Oakland A's, I'm pretty sure MLB will be like, listen, you should have moved 5 years ago. But But I also heard that they could possibly end up going to Nashville as well. That's also a landing place for the A's. So
yeah. I mean,
I think out of all the franchises to move, it's going to be them, right? I mean,
Tampa. Again, Tampa comes up every year too. They just don't draw.
Right.
There's no way they make any money.
Yeah. I mean, that's their stadium location. Their stadium location is brutal.
Oh, it's dirt. Yeah, it's dirt.
I mean, there's 1 million plus people that live in that St. Petersburg, Clearwater, Tampa area, but shoving the ballpark on the far edge of St. Petersburg, which is anywhere near the center of that whole metro area, it doesn't make it easy to get in and out.
No.
And the ballpark sucks, and it's the summer in Florida. I mean, people are at the beach and out. They're not sitting in that dump of a dome watching a baseball game.
Yeah.
But the hard part too, with like the Oakland Athletics, when you look at a map of where all these professional teams are, 3/4 of them are in the center of the country to the East Coast. There's so little activity on the West Coast in general. To pull one more team off the West Coast, you're going to reach a point where the West Coast road trips are going to be almost a thing of the past because there's only a handful of teams out there to visit, anyways.
Yeah. Yeah.
True.
I agree.
Yeah, you got to keep activity out there on the West Coast to try to keep people interested. And the sad part is, if the Oakland Athletics weren't perpetually tanking every year for draft picks, people might show up to their games. But now the fans are so mad that they're just not going.
That's why Vegas to me makes the most sense for
I love the
Oakland.
idea of Vegas.
You're keeping it on the West Coast, right? But like, they're going to have a top of the line stadium because it's Vegas,
Yep.
right? I mean, look at what the Raiders got when they went to like. That almost makes too much sense on that
Right.
respect. I mean, and again, we want to talk about getting people out, and I mean, visiting road fans will go to Vegas for an entire series. They're not going to go for one night for one game. They'll go and buy tickets for 2 to 3 games. I mean, it's Vegas.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
You know,
Well, the
that's a
amazing
whole
thing-
experience.
And the amazing thing to Vegas, there's so much more to Vegas, that whole area, than just the Strip. You know, Vegas and Henderson and there's so many things in that area to draw people in. It's not just the Strip.
Yeah.
Oh, the
Well, I
Strip
guess,
helps.
yeah, but yeah, I mean, that's where people are going to go. They're going to make a whole.
Yep.
They're going to plan it around their team playing, like the Raiders. I mean, the Raiders are not going to have much of a home field advantage. I can't imagine.
No.
Because half their stadium is just going to be the road fans. Because everyone wants to go to Vegas at least once.
Well,
Why not make a trip out of it by following your team out there?
Well, and look at the demographics of Vegas. Almost nobody that lives in Vegas is from Vegas. It's a landing spot for people from all over. So there's no true Las Vegas sports fan. You know, they're going to grab whoever wants to go watch the NFL. But the NFL in Vegas is like a gambler's paradise, to have football and gambling right across the street.
Yeah. I mean,
I'm just waiting for a Super Bowl in Vegas. How cool will that be? That'll be bonkers.
Nuts.
It's coming up soon, isn't it? Didn't they already announce that one?
Yeah, that'll be cool.
Yeah. Yeah. Also leading off, I saw a meme on Facebook, good old Facebook here. It started actually with the M&M SOS podcast. Their question of the week was, if you could take the players from 1992 and build your own baseball dream team, who would be on the team? And then I saw this. This came up, and if there was a World Baseball Classic in 2023, the Dominican Republic's lineup would be absolutely disgusting. And I tagged them in this, and I was like, I see your 92 dream team, and I raise you the 23 Dominican Republic WBC. Fernando Tatis at short, Jose Ramirez at second, Juan Soto in left, Guerrero Jr. at first, Devers DH, Machado at third, Teoscar Hernandez in right, Sanchez at catcher, and Starling Marte in center. Okay, that's just your
Not bad.
That's just your starting lineup, and then your rotation would be Freddie Peralta, Sandy Alcantara, Luis Severino, Frankie Montas, and Framber Valdez. I mean, yeah. Then their bullpen: Emmanuel Clase, Camilo Duval, and Luis Castillo. And
It's just not right.
Yeah. And then your bench players, you still have you still have legends out in there. You have Pujols, you have Nelson Cruz, you got Wander Franco, the young kid coming off the bench.
Yeah, he's pretty good.
I mean, goodness. I mean, Dominican Republic, for being such, a small island, really, just pumps out baseball players, high quality baseball players all the time.
And they all almost 95% of them seem like the coolest dudes ever. All of them I just want to have a beer with. They just seem like such fun guys.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's not even to mention, the two that we've lost, right? We lost who was it? Yordan Ventura. Remember him? Yeah. So he was murdered, right? I think he was murdered in Dominican. Yep. And then Jose Fernandez, was he Dominican or was he Cuban? I don't remember. But man, you have two pitchers right there that would probably be in their prime right now still.
Yeah, Jose Fernandez was Cuban.
Yeah. But still, I mean, Just crazy.
I mean, the Dominican Republic is a country of just under 11 million people, and yet, like, I feel like a third of MLB is Dominican.
Yeah, 11 million
I mean,
people.
that's a lot of. I mean, when you figure it's like 1 in 100,000 make it to the major leagues, that's a really good hit rate.
Yeah. What was that?
2-run homer for Sonny DeShara puts Auburn up 2-0 in the third. In the third inning of Game 3.
Oh, nice.
War Eagle.
Yeah, I mean, however, the USA team wouldn't be bad either. I mean, there's some good guys that would be playing on there too. But
but that Dominican Republic team would like be blowing the doors off.
They would get waxed by that DR team. Absolutely waxed.
There's nobody beating the D. I mean, you could grab the MLB All-Star team and it might be a game, but can't
because
roster.
They are the MLB.
Well, that's true. They're half the rosters. Grab all the other guys on the All-Star rosters, and that might be a game.
Yeah.
Let's just put it this way, Nick. Let's just put it this way. For every great player on Team USA, I could name you a better player on the DR team.
Oh yeah.
And that's taking nothing away from the USA team. But
no.
That DR team it's the best player at every position in the league.
Basically.
Mike Trout.
Yeah, okay, fine. Mike Trout's the one I'll give you.
Nolan Arenado.
Mike Trout's the one I'll give you. Arenado, Jose Ramirez.
Paul Goldschmidt.
Not better, but up there. Goldschmidt, Raffy.
At first?
Oh, I would just player. Or fine, Vlad Guerrero Jr. over Goldie. I'll take Vladdy Jr. over Goldie.
Oh,
I probably would too. I mean, let's be honest.
Yeah, I mean let's be honest. I mean, those guys are, number 1 or number 2 at every position.
Trout's the one I'll give you. I mean, there's no one better than Trout.
Right.
Right. So, Trout's the one I'll give you.
Ohtani? He's not USA, but.
At which position?
He would somehow end up on the Dominican team, too. Somehow he would wind up on that Dominican Republic team.
They'd get him a spray tan and roll him out.
That doesn't make any sense.
Ohtani is Japanese for Hernandez. I guess it will work.
Yeah. Otanes. Shohei Otanes on the Dominican team.
So my wife goes, "Who's on the cover of this video game? Is it Shotani?" And I go, "Close enough."
I love it.
They should have called it MLB The Shotani.
Right? They missed a big opportunity there.
They missed it.
Oh man, yeah. I just looked at that and I was like, "Oh my goodness, it is filthy right now." But
I would love to see that roster hit the field for anywhere, anything. That would just be. I mean, hell, go build that roster in the show, Nick, and play a season. They probably go 130 and 32,
161 and 1.
Right. I mean, good God.
Yeah, I might have to do that. That might be on my to-do list.
Yeah, do that. Run a season as them and see what they look like.
I'll put them in the worst division too. What's that? NL Central.
Oh yeah.
I'll replace them with. Who's the best team in that? Cardinals.
Cardinals. Yeah, Cardinals.
Okay, done. Results next week. Okay. So we'll move on to the 5th inning where we had the best matchups of this past week. I'm going to start with this one just because I don't think it was the best matchup, and I absolutely hate that I'm going to say this.
Oh God.
But the Yankees just absolutely demolished the Chicago Cubs this weekend.
The poor Cubs.
And I mean, not even just one game. It was all of them. And Giancarlo Stanton is going to kill somebody. That dude is going to kill somebody. 120 exit velo off the bat.
Oh God.
There's gonna be protective netting around the entire field if he keeps that out, dude.
Yeah, that thing had a vapor trail.
Dude, that thing was smoked. I think it was officially 119.6 or something like that.
Yeah, 119 and change.
Jesus Christ, dude. Someone's gonna die. It's not that's coming at me in the left field bleachers, dude. I am ducking and covering. And I played college baseball. I'm not trying to put my hand in front of that. Are you kidding?
No, I'm using whatever guy's in front of me as a human shield if that thing's coming in the bleachers.
Dude, if you have time to react, dude, that ball got out in about 2 seconds flat.
That's the scary thing. At 120 miles an hour, that thing is in the bleachers before you realize it. It is.
Oh,
that thing is sizzling on its way into the seats.
Unreal, dude.
Well, and what's amazing about that series, like the Yankees won 2-1, innocent enough. Then they won 8-0. All right, no big deal. Not a great day at the ballpark. And then they won 18-4.
Yeah.
Like it's
I mean
2-1, 8-0, 18-4. It's like good. They absolutely steamrolled the Cubs.
And it was just home runs. It's just they just hit so
bombs.
many home runs. But we've seen the Yankees do this in the past. Like that's the one thing that's like, I'm not saying I'm like holding my breath and saying the Yankees are going to lose in the first round. Like the Yankees are good this year. I mean, we knew they were good. I didn't think they would be this good this late into the year. I thought we'd have injury troubles, and they've been good. But when like 35% of your runs are accounted for by home runs, like you're going to run into a time, whether it's August, whether it's September, or whether it's October in the playoffs, but you're going to run into a time where, like the home runs aren't coming. Like you're going to run into a time where you need to string 3, 4, 5 hits together to score 2 runs and win a game 2-1. Like how are you doing that? Because it's just, and yes, they're hitting home runs, and yes, right now Judge is probably the AL MVP. I don't know how he's not with the 20-something home runs, and like he's got to be, right?
He's
like
not even close.
Right. I mean, because those numbers are like home runs and RBRs are what like the sexy numbers that everyone looks at. I will raise this though, and yes, I'm biased because I picked him at the beginning of the year. It's June 13th, and Rafi has 87 hits. 87 hits, and it's June 13th.
I think he hit 88 with that 2-run bomb the other day.
Okay, so anyways. 88 now. That is outrageous.
Yeah.
And he's not that far back in the RBIs. The home runs, but again, that's the sexy number, the home runs, and fine. But you're going to run into a time when the home runs dry up. And how are the Yankees manufacturing these runs? How are the Yankees getting ahead? How are the Yankees clawing from behind if they're not hitting the home runs? I don't know.
Well, they're not. I mean, the Yankees lead the majors in home runs with 98, and they lead the league in team ERA with 2.84. At everything else, they're kind of in the upper echelon, but for them, it's all about they've pitched well and hit a ton of bombs. But when they face good lineups and tough pitchers, those two stats are going to skew the other direction. It's typical Yankees. They're going to get to the playoffs, and you're not going to hit 5 home runs against, the number one starter for every team. You're just not going
unless you're Matt Carpenter.
Well, I mean, but that's the other thing. Like, here's the guy who was sitting on the couch, scratching his butt a month ago, and the guy shows up, and in 10 games, he hit 6 bombs.
He's got 7, by the way.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah,
6
he has
in his last
8,
10.
Yeah, 8 hits as a Yankee, and 7 of them are homers.
Right. I mean, the guy literally just walked on the field after an extended absence and just started hitting bombs.
Mm-hmm.
And he grew out a wicked awesome stash, and he's just doing his thing.
Yeah. But you're right, Sean. Like, the home runs are going to dry up. Like, eventually you're going to have that drought like the Red Sox had where they didn't have a bomb for what? It was like almost a full week, right? Like
quite a while, yeah.
Yeah. Like that's gonna happen. And you're right. Yeah. Like the rotations are gonna come around. They're gonna start teams are gonna start throwing them their best arms. Like
in the playoffs, you're not facing the Cubs rotation and their 5th starter to win 18-4. You're just not.
Right.
You're gonna face better pitching. You're not gonna hit 6 home runs in a game. You might hit a couple, but that's been the undoing of the Yankees for years and years now, is that they might hit 2 home runs, but they lose the game 5-3. It's like you got to be able to do more than just hit bombs.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, that's the thing. I mean, I think that's what remains to be seen. It's why I would say I'm not holding my breath one way or the other on the Yankees. Like when they're hitting their home runs, like as much as I hate the Yankees, like they're kind of fun to turn in and watch because it's just like how many of these even with that Mickey Mouse right field porch, like most of them are bombs. Like most of them are like no doubters off the bat. Like you get a couple of wall scrapers, but like everyone hits a few wall scrapers. Like by and large, their home runs are absolute piss missiles. So like they're fun to tune into and watch. But like I can imagine it being a frustrating thing when you're a Yankee fan, when inevitably over 162 they're going to dry up. You're going to have droughts. You're going to have a situation in which Judge is not hitting a home run every 4 at bats, which is what it seems like at this rate. Right. Like it's unbelievable. Like Stanton is gonna. Yes, it's impressive to see a 120 exit velo, but I don't know, man. Like I kind of roll my eyes with it with Stanton because it's like if I was a Yankee fan, I would get frustrated with the just poor at bats, the swinging at balls and missing by 3 feet, striking out at balls in the left-hander's batter's box. And then I'd get like a 120 piss missile, and then like that was fun to watch. And then I'm back to like 14 consecutive ugly at bat. It's like, I don't know. Is it that like it's fun to watch, like to see the highlight of it. It's like, oh my God, that ball was smoked. But like, I don't know. Judge is a complete hitter. It's like Judge is. I enjoy watching him get up to the plate and hit because he's a complete hitter. He uses all fields. He's got great hands, knows the strike zone, all that. Stanton to me is not a great hitter. He's just a guy that if you make a mistake, he's going to put it on Mars.
He just hits rockets.
And you just hope you don't make a mistake when he's up.
Yeah, he's a mistake hitter. You hang a piece of cheese to him and he's going to crush it. But when you look at his contact quality, his overall at bats, his batting average, he's not even close to Judge. He's 30, 40 points behind Judge consistently. He's not a clutch hitter. He's not great late in the game. But you hang him a curveball and he's going to hit it a mile because that's what he does. But
as long as he guesses it's going to be a curveball.
Yeah, well, good point. Because he's clearly a guess hitter too. Because when he's wrong, he is way wrong.
Buddy, he'll swing at balls that are 54 feet. They're like 6 feet in front of the plate. He's swinging and missing. It's like, holy moly.
He is a true guess hitter.
Yeah.
But you look at Judge. Judge right now is on pace for 62 home runs. I mean,
that's gonna dry up. He's not hitting 62 home runs because he's not going to stay healthy long enough to hit the 62. But
no, and your point, he's got 24 home runs and 48 RBIs. Devers has got 14 and 35.
Right.
And then Raffy scored 47 runs. Judge leads the league with 54 runs scored. So
Raffy's done this while the entire offense did nothing for the whole month of April.
Right. The entire month of April.
Correct.
Zero
literally
production.
the entirety of the month of April,
the
offense did nothing, and Raffy's kind of right there with the numbers. He leads the league in hits and leads the league in doubles. So I don't know. I mean, we spent a lot of time on the Yankees here. I guess that wasn't necessarily my intention, but they're a fun team to watch. I guess just to put a bow on the Yankees. I'm just waiting to see one way or the other. Like if they prove me wrong, if they start playing station to station baseball when the home runs dry up, it's like that's a team to worry about. Yeah. But until they start doing that, like I'm not necessarily concerned that the Yankees are. Yeah, they might have the best record in baseball, but like notoriously, those teams don't win World Series. I mean, we've seen that however many years in a row. Like the teams that lead the league in home runs, unless you can find other ways to manufacture runs, you're not winning in the postseason.
Yeah. Yep. So this matchup that Brian's commenting on right now, dude, me and Brian had a epic battle in our fantasy league this week, our rounding third fantasy league, and we were tied at this moment. He had Edwin Diaz, I had Mike Trout at the plate, and it's tied 331 to 331. The game's on the line, dude, and Edwin Diaz just absolutely blows away Mike Trout with 102. Like, started him off with a slider, which was interesting because he hung it, and I was like, oh. But, I mean, when you're throwing 102, like, you're not expecting a slider first pitch. And he just absolutely blew Mike Trout away in 4 pitches, and, man. And then there goes. I would have been the first one to beat Brian. He's now 9-0. But, man, I thought I had him. But it was, like, that matchup was crazy. That
was epic.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, Edwin Diaz, man, he's every conceivable metric. I mean, he's first. He's first in contact average. He's first in hard hit rate against. He's first in like strikeouts per nine. Like everything about he is having a hell of a year, and he's got a season that he's got 50 plus saves. And this might be so far as of up to one of the most dominant seasons that we've seen in recent memory from closers. I mean, this guy he's not just getting saves, like he's making them look easy. And the Mets are continuing to find ways to get Edwin Diaz against like the middle of the order every ninth inning. Like it seems like it's so weird how it happens, but it's like the starting pitchers are doing well enough in the other bullpen middle relief and all those guys are doing well enough to where like the bottom of the ninth or the top of the ninth comes along and it's like 2, 3, 4, 4, 5, 6, right? Like it's and he's facing the best hitters and he is making it look so easy. It's outrageous.
Last night was a 5-out save.
5 out save.
And,
Yeah.
and I think he had 5
Outrageous.
Ks. I
He
don't.
did have 5 Ks. Yep.
Yeah,
He did. 5
just
Ks.
like-
Yeah, I mean,
like,
between
goodness gracious.
Diaz and Hader are having relief seasons like you read about. Like they're not. You don't see this very often. These are historic seasons that they're having.
He finally ended his scoreless streak, though. Unfortunately,
Yeah.
But
Literally, like the
still,
day after we talked about it, he gave
Yeah.
up a run.
Yeah, but still, 40 scoreless innings, dude. Like that's
And the funny thing is, and not that he doesn't have great stuff, but like, he doesn't have like blow you away stuff. But he makes no mistakes. Hader
Right.
makes
No,
zero
yeah.
mistakes.
Exactly. Yep.
Yeah.
You look at guys and you say, oh, like this guy is gonna like if you hang one to this guy, he doesn't hang anything.
No,
He does not. He does not.
I've
make mistakes
never seen him
pitching.
hang a
You're
pitch.
right. You're right. It's outrageous. It really is.
I mean, his stuff is really good, but he's not like Edwin Diaz's stuff. But Hader makes
Oh, no.
zero mistakes. Zero.
Yeah.
Unheard of.
yeah. Did you guys
I mean,
have any other? Oops, keep going.
I was gonna say Josh Hader's never thrown a ball down the middle, like probably in his whole life.
It's crazy. But yeah, watching those two have been a blast this year. It's been. But Edwin Diaz last night was just like
Insane.
yeah. Was there any other matchups last week that you guys?
I thought
I mean-
I thought the Twins taking 2 out of 3 from the Rays was interesting. I think the
Yeah.
the Twins are a team. They're climbing and we like them, and then they're like, man, we're gonna taper off a little bit. Then they climb it again. I don't know if they've quite figured out exactly who they are, but it's a good team. And taking 2 out of 3 from the Rays in pretty convincing fashion shows me that they're gonna hang around. I don't know that I'd pencil them in as a World Series contender just yet, but they're gonna make a run at the playoffs and they're gonna make some noise.
They're gonna win the Central. The White Sox are in shambles right
Yeah,
now.
I think the White Sox have completely just imploded.
Well,
I mean,
we'll get to them in a little
Yeah.
bit because they're part of our rounding third question here.
but I
Yeah,
think
I mean, I
think the
just
Twins
think-
are good.
Twins are good. I do. I mean, I think it's their division to lose. And
Yeah.
the only other team talent wise that would be able to compete is Chicago. But I mean, we talk about it, and we are going to get to them. But I mean, you talk about a manager or a head coach that's lost that locker room. There's no way a single person respects Tony La Russa. There's just no way. They can't.
No.
And if they
It's-
say they do, then they are just lying because they
Yeah.
can't.
And-
Honestly, it's a shame that the Twins are doing so well because I wanted them to be sellers at the deadline and I wanted them to send Correa to St. Louis.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
mean, honestly,
That's
like,
a hell of a contract to try to move, but yeah, that would have been cool. But
but
It's only
I mean,
2
not
years.
really, right? He can
I
opt
mean, it's
out.
only right. It's a very short.
it's
That
a
would be-
1 year
that's a
opt
trade.
out.
That's
Yeah.
the one that's the deal they signed because they're thinking if they're terrible, they're going to trade them.
Yeah,
That's
he's
why
a
they signed that deal.
he's a 1 year rental player, and then he'll be back out. He'll be back out in the market next year with Xander. But and one team in the Central that I think we kind of overlook, the Indians. I will not call them the Guardians. I absolutely refuse. They're not bad. They're not a great team, but they're kind of sneaky good.
Yeah, I mean,
I
they
don't
have a
know.
couple guys.
To me, it's the couple of Go ahead, Nick. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, it's fine. I think I was going to say exactly what you were thinking. Is they have a couple guys that are hitting close to 300.
Yep.
Ramirez is driving them in. So like you got Steven Kwan and you got Andres Jimenez who's playing way over his mind right now. Like who's Andres Jimenez? Does anybody know?
Right.
No. Like he's just playing out of his mind. He's going to get some all-star votes because he's got the highest average for a second baseman right now.
Right.
And he's been playing out of his mind, like I said. So, I mean, they do have a couple of good pitchers, but yeah, I mean, like you said, they're not bad. They're not,
No.
the Royals or the
there's-
Reds, but they're
I
middle tier, middle to
I
upper
think they're
tier.
sneaky. I think they're sneaky good, and they're going to benefit
Yeah.
from playing 14 games against the Royals, the friggin' Tigers, and the White Sox are in shambles.
Yep.
And the Twins are not running away, so it's that Central
be tight.
Division is really just generally so bad that a team like the Guardians can actually be in contention when really any other division they'd be pushed down to 4th or 5th.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the starting pitching, Brian makes a good point here. I mean, the
Yeah.
starting pitching gives
Good.
them that kind of great equalizer in that sense, but like it's not a lineup, an overall lineup that you look at and say like, oh, it's
No,
a lineup you gotta worry about, right? And where like unless we see, all injuries aside, I mean, unless we see guys get hurt, obviously that changes things. But with things constituted as they are now, I mean, I don't see Minnesota dropping enough games and Cleveland making up enough games to win the division. So Cleveland's going to have to get one of the wild card spots. They get one of the wild card spots. Now having those 3 starting pitchers that can string out a series helps, right? But you're now, if you win that wild card, I mean, you're now starting a series with your number 2. And I think things are really stacked against Cleveland in this year. Jose Ramirez signed that deal. I mean, he's there for the long term. He seems to really enjoy it in Cleveland. I do think they got some young players. I don't think this is the year. But I just think it's a lot to ask for them to overcome what they're going to have to overcome for this year. And I just think Minnesota's too good. And to me, I don't think that there's enough that can be said for Correa started out so bad. I mean, we talk about the Sox were bad in April. Correa might have been the worst player in the American League in the month of April. Like, he's hitting like 165. It was like, and he looked terrible at the plate. He didn't look like he wanted to be there. He wasn't doing much better defensively. But now it's a team that's got, 35 wins, 34, 35, somewhere around there for the wins.
Yep.
And to me, you can't put enough credit onto a guy like Correa knows how to win. I mean, a guy like Correa is just a guy that, wins follow him. Like, he was in Houston. They drafted him. He was a big prospect. He comes up. They win some World Series. Yeah, cheating, this, that, the other, whatever. Everybody cheats. The guy wins. He knows how to win. He knows how to get things done in the dog days of July and the dog days of August and extend division leads. Now, granted, it's not all him. Houston was a good team, but you wonder why a guy like the Twins. I mean, you wonder why these guys are elevating their play. A guy like Correa makes, to me, a huge difference.
Yep.
That kind of presence in a locker room, a guy that knows how to do it, a guy that's got it done, that's important. Yeah. So, and again, I mean, we're not exactly talking about murder's row of divisions here either. So it helps that they're in that American League Central. But, I mean, that's a team to me that they continue to play like this. All of a sudden we look up in August and they've got 90 wins or whatever. It's like, oh, good Lord. All right.
Yeah. Well, I think a lot of that hinges too on Buxton. I think that his health is going to be a big piece of how far they go, and
we saw what he did this year. Absolutely.
Yeah, and when he was down there for a couple of weeks, they didn't play well. I do think that Cleveland's got some good starting pitching. They've got an okay offense. They're going to feast on crappy teams. They're going to struggle against good teams. The typical story for those middle of the pack teams, and it's going to be the Twins' division to lose. And it's going to be health that dictates that. I mean, the Twins are not like a blow you away roster either, but they are certainly the best roster in that division, and it's really up to them to ride that out.
I don't know. I think the best roster, if we're just looking on paper, the best roster in that division is the White Sox. That's the best roster in that division.
Yeah.
I mean, I think we got 2 or 3 really good pitchers in Chicago. I think you got some really young, talented. I just think La Russa is the wrong guy for that team.
Oh, yeah.
No question. I mean, I thought that last year. I mean, imagine, look at what he's done this year. It's been just a nightmare.
Well, and I think this point sums it up. No matter who wins that division, they ain't going anywhere. I mean, it's not a strong enough division. Anybody's going to really make any playoff noise. Maybe the Twins can make some noise in the first round. But in reality, your ALCS isn't going to run through the AL Central.
Right.
That's for sure.
Right. I 100% agree.
Which all of us could have called before the season even started.
Yeah, I mean, that division.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Right. Yeah.
That division is those guys are going to feast on the bottom 2 or 3 teams there because they're so bad, and that's going to prop up records to a level that they probably shouldn't be at.
Yeah, absolutely. Any other matchups this week or this week coming up, I should say? What do we got on deck here?
Well, I thought, just to real quick about last week, wasn't necessarily like one matchup. Following the speeding of Sox, I thought the Sox out west, Sox versus out west, not necessarily those teams, but we grow up around here. We know the Sox don't necessarily handle those West Coast trips very well.
No,
even against bad teams, they tend to struggle. They don't play their best. They're kind of out there. 8-2, and very probably could have been 10-0. I mean, they could have won 9, or they probably should have won 9.
That walk-off against Seattle was a heartbreaker.
Yeah,
It
look,
was.
That one
I mean,
hurt.
especially after Dahlbeck gives you the lead in the top of the ninth, 2 strikes, 2 outs, he goes yard, like, tough one. But again, you go 8-2 and 10 out west. You can't really complain about that. And I thought it goes to show you the Sox they went from that team who couldn't win a close game, and now all of a sudden, now granted, not the best of competition, but now they're winning close games. And, they may have figured something out with Houck in the ninth. I don't know if I love that decision, but
no.
in lieu of like a real closer, you got to do something. Like, you got to figure something out. I saw Lou Maloney put out a tweet the other day, and I don't have it right in front of me, but it was something along the lines of that if the Red Sox just had a legitimate closer, like a legitimate, doesn't have to be Edwin Diaz, but like a legitimate closer that can close games, they would have the second best record in the American League right now.
Yeah, they've been walked off on 9 times.
9 times.
9 times they've been walked off on. That's not even counting leads they've given up in the top of the ninth.
I was just going to say, so Major League Baseball keeps this stat, which this must be a new stat. I can't imagine it's been around for longer than like a year or two. And they call like bullpen meltdowns, right? And awesome. What constitutes a meltdown? I don't exactly know what constitutes.
Brian Brazier.
But the Boston Red Sox have had 41 bullpen meltdowns.
Oh, Jesus.
41. They've only played, less than 60 games. They played 51 or 52 games. They've got 41 bullpen meltdowns.
Yeah, 61 games.
61 games, they've got 41 or 42 bullpen meltdowns.
Well, and when you look at the advanced stats for the Red Sox,
insane.
Wow.
Yeah, when you look at the advanced stats for the Red Sox, they should be 3 games better than they are. They should be 35 and 26, based on runs scored, runs allowed, and advanced stats. They should be 3 games better than they are. But if you give them back 3 games, they're now tied for 3rd place in the division, and they're in a much better spot than they are now. Granted, all the bullpen meltdowns and all that stuff is true, but a lot of those games where, they blew a lead in a 2-1 game or a 1-1 game, or you're not going to win a lot of games to only score 1 run. But at the same time, if you could flip the pendulum and they actually had a real bullpen that could bail out the fact they had no offense in April, it is a totally different team.
Right, but that's the thing about and I mean, I guess we could sit here and do a whole show about arguing about the semantics of baseball. If you're looking at it from a high level, go, well, you're not going to win a lot of games scoring 1 or 2 runs. No, theoretically you're not. But the Red Sox, the 2022 Red Sox, would have. Because if they just simply had a bullpen in the games where they weren't scoring any runs, because the starters were awesome. The starters have been great all year. Yeah. So it's not like you're losing games, you're giving up 8 runs and scoring 1. Theoretically, you're not going to win a lot when you score 1 or 2 runs. But this Red Sox team, constituted the way they were in April, would have. And that's the frustrating part is you didn't expect the offense to be so bad. You expected the offense to come out a whole lot hotter, a whole lot more consistent. And that's why you were like, well, we can live with the mediocre pitching because we're going to score a lot of runs. But now it's biting you in the ass because you didn't score a lot of runs. And now you're costing you're fighting. You're going to be fighting for that 3rd wild card spot now for the rest of the summer.
Yeah, I mean, every friggin' situation in April was high leverage because the offense couldn't score enough runs to give them any kind of breathing room. And if they had a shutdown 8th and 9th inning guy, then they could have salvaged some of those games. But they were walking the tightrope for far too long.
Yeah, even if you had first half Matt Barnes of last year, something, or even just a consistent closer, even if he's not that good, just consistency. That's it.
That's what I was calling for a while. And again, Alex Cora, I trust him. I think he's a really good manager. But, I do think that could have been handled a little bit better. Guys just need consistency. I mean, they need to know where they stand. Robles is the perfect example. I think Robles is a little bit better than what he's been lately. I think he's average. I don't think he's great. I think he's a little better than what he's been lately. But, good Lord, do I kind of feel for the guy. Because, one game he's in the 6th inning, and then he's in the 8th inning. And then he's in the 5th inning, and then he's back in the 7th inning, and then he's in the 9th inning 2 days later because they need him for the save and it's the poor guy. I mean, that's
right.
Yes, you get paid all kinds of money. Yes, you're in the show, but it pays to know where you are. And Terry Francona, I thought, was the best with it. But Terry Francona was able to do it with Andrew Miller was his favorite. Andrew Miller would be the 6th inning, and then the 8th inning, and then the 5th, and it was great. But he could do that because he had guys like Papelbon. He had the closer. Right. You had the closer, so you can use that other guy as your Swiss Army knife. You can't make your closer the Swiss Army knife because then what are we doing? But
I was just going to say that you have one right. But I was just gonna say that, like, you have one guy in the bullpen that can go in any situation, wherever, But then the back half, your 8 inning, your 9 inning guys are the same guys every night. And then if
Right.
your closer needs a night off, your setup guy just slides into there or whatever. Like,
Yep.
Just the way he's kind of managed the back half of the bullpen, I agree, has been kind of sloppy, if not really sloppy.
But I don't think he's been given a lot. Like I'm not going to put it all on Cora because it's not like I don't think he has great pieces back there that he's just misusing. I don't think he has great pieces. Like I really don't. I think the only thing is not necessarily like, because I don't know. Like, do I want Houck 9th inning every game? No, I don't think so. Do I want John Schreiber? Not really. Do I want Robles? No, he walks too many guys. Like, I don't know if I just think that Cora, you're the major league. Like, you have to figure that out. I don't know what the answer is, but I'm sitting on my couch right now. Like, I'm not. I don't know. But like, you need to figure out what that answer is. And if it's Houck, it's Houck. If it's Chris Sale when he comes back, it's Chris Sale. I don't know. But like, they've got to figure that out because, you're talking the difference. That one position to me is the difference between a team that's fighting for the third wild card spot and a team that could be pretty comfortably in that first or second wild card spot.
Right.
Yeah,
This could be him trying to figure out who his back end closer is too. Like,
Absolutely.
But it's just taken him 3 months. Like,
right.
Sure. Goodness gracious.
Sure.
I can't believe I'm going to say this, but just put Brazier in the 9th inning and, like, whatever. He actually got his first 1, 2, 3 inning the other day. Can you hear me? You
having a stroke?
Probably. You can't hear me?
Jesus. I can't believe you said that.
Yeah.
But it's consistent. You know what I mean? Like, it's a consistent arm. It's that whole consistency piece where people know their roles. They're not going in and out, different situations all the time. Like,
and I'll take that thread, Nick, just for a second. I don't think Brazier would be the worst decision simply because he's not terrible with clean innings. Now, I know that's not a confidence booster in your closer, but he's not, like, you can't bring him in with guys on base. Like, he is so bad with guys on base. I don't know what it is, but like, he's just not prepared. He's nervous. I don't know what the hell it is, but he cannot perform when there's guys, when he doesn't have a clean inning. If he has a clean inning, he's fairly okay, which again, not exactly confidence boosting, but it's consistent and it's something, and your closer's going to get a clean inning. I mean, that's what they do.
Yeah.
So, but I do think they got to figure something out.
Well, and
but with that being said, go ahead.
What's interesting too with the Red Sox is that currently they have the 7th best overall pitching staff in baseball. They've been number 2 over the last 2 weeks because they've had like 4 shutouts. It's been ridiculous what they've done the last 2 weeks.
Michael Wacha.
Right. So you've got the 7th best overall staff in baseball, 7th best whips, and the 6th best batting average against. Last 2 weeks you've been lights out, and yet their run differential is they're only still plus 40, but they've scored the 2nd most runs in the AL East. So it's this weird setup where the pitching's really not bad. The starters have been quite good. The offense is still finding its footing. The bullpen's been atrocious, but overall, you look at the overall stats and go, "Well, that's a pretty good team. They should be better than they are." It's been the inability to link good pitching and enough offense at the same time. It seems like they've got 1 of 3 or 2 of 3, but they can't get a good starter, a good bullpen outing, and a good offense all in the same game. The last couple weeks, they finally have.
Yeah, right. I was going to say the last 10 games, 8-2 in the last 10. I mean, you're not doing that with a bad bullpen, or you're not doing that with bad starting. So I mean, you are starting to figure it out now. I mean, we'll see. I mean, they got Oakland's coming in. Oakland's not blowing your doors off, and then we got St. Louis this weekend. That'll be something. St. Louis coming into town this coming weekend. That'll be something.
The Red Sox have had a cupcake schedule the last couple of weeks, and that's been helpful because they had such a tough grinder in April and May. It's good to see them get a couple of weeks of, the Athletics a couple of times and, some powder puffs they can beat up on. But the Cardinals, that's my series that I'm most watching this week, because that's going to be a good indicator of, is this Red Sox team for real, or did they get hot on crappy competition? Like, did they just beat up on bad teams the last 2 weeks, or have they legitimately figured it out?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, I had that for series 2 this weekend. I I want to see the Angels and Dodgers just because I want to see how the Angels come back from that Mets series and to
Yeah.
see if they can actually compete in the upper, like you have your middle of the road fruit that are like, apples, oranges, and you got the exotic fruit like dragon fruit and all that stuff up there, like,
well, I'll tell you,
That's a hell of an
like,
analogy, Nick.
I know, but you want to see how they fare against them.
I would say I would say how the Angels can keep it going because the Angels competed. That Mets series was a competition.
It was. It was good.
Yeah, absolutely.
They handled them in that second game, and then last night that was a competitive baseball game. I mean, that was a good competitive baseball game. So the Angels, yes, they lost the series, but they were kind of I don't know. Can they keep it going? And is the Dodgers one during the week or is it this weekend?
Yeah, it's during the week.
Well, the Dodgers right now are a little lost. Their offense has been absolutely radio silent for a week now.
Yeah.
I mean, I just think it's going to be interesting because, and Shohei got a couple nights off. Did you hear the interim manager on Sunday Night Baseball? Like ESPN, so ESPN was like, hey, like we noticed Shohei wasn't in the lineup during a primetime game. Like, what's up with that? And the guy's like, he needed a night off. Like we're not going to throw him out there on national TV just because you guys want to see him. Like we understand how important Shohei is to the game, but like if the dude needs a night off, the dude needs a night off. We're not going to, go out of our way and possibly hurt him, like.
Right.
But
yeah, I don't necessarily disagree with that. I'll say like Sunday Night Baseball games on ESPN, like they don't just tell you that day that hey, we're playing on ESPN. Like, I mean, if Shohei needed a night off, like the night before could have been his night off. And I'm not. And who am I? I mean, I'm not going to sit and second guess the manager, but I'm just saying like that's kind of like a cop out answer. It's like, well, he needed a day off. It's like, well, you guys played yesterday and he didn't have the day off, and that was just on regional network. Like, I mean, you can. I feel like you kind of owe that. Like you're the Angels, you kind of owe it to the fans, to Major League Baseball. So when you play on Sunday Night Baseball twice a year, as long as they're healthy, Trout and Ohtani play those games. Like you can't sit those.
I get it.
And that's MLB making a mistake. MLB should be prompting these teams. Look, it is Sunday Night Baseball. You're on ESPN. Roll out the best damn lineup you've got. Don't be resting your premier guys on Sunday. Come on.
Why the NBA does it?
Yeah, but
anyways.
I mean, but the NBA is on ESPN like every free. That's the difference with the baseball contract. The NBA is on ESPN like every friggin' night.
No,
MLB's on ESPN one night a week. This is your Monday Night Football. Like roll out the best roster you've got because the fans are tuning in, the kids are tuning in to watch Trout and Shohei. They don't care about the rest of the guys on that team. But to rest a guy like Shohei on Sunday Night Baseball on ESPN, it's an embarrassment. And the league should be prompting these guys the week before. Nobody rests on Sunday night unless his arm is falling off. That guy's on the field because you've got to get these guys in front of the national audience.
Yeah, I mean, I get that aspect of it, and I get it's entertainment and all that stuff. But I personally, I liked the attitude of the interim manager being like, I'm not going to risk Shohei Ohtani because of this. Like I need him later down the road. It's freaking June. Like I need him for August, September, October. Like,
but you can't. I don't need him night of the week to rest him.
I get that, but like you also have to work around his starting rotation probably. Like it's probably just the way the schedule works. But I totally see your point. I totally do. But I just like the attitude where it's like, like I don't care what you guys want to see. Like this is the best for Shohei in this moment. Like I'm not just gonna roll him out there because you guys want to see him.
I can appreciate an interim manager saying, look, guys, I'm in charge right now, and I'm not doing that, period. But MLB should be working with these guys to prepare better, so that's not the decision they got to make. They can find something else.
I agree with that, for sure. John, were you going to add in or no?
No, I mean, that was more what I was going to say. Like, I get I get your point, and it's valid. I mean, I just think it's I don't know. I mean, like, you're an athlete. I don't care what sport you play. Like, you play football, the chances are you might get hurt. You get out there and play hockey, like it's a physical contact sport, you're going to get hurt. Like, you play baseball, man. Like, you might fall one off your foot and hurt yourself, or you might take one off the rib cage, or you might hurt yourself diving for a ball. Like you can't and I'm sorry, rest is such a hard thing for me. Like with baseball guys, like rest, like a lot of this time, Shohei's a DH. Like, what do you mean rest? Like if he's not on the mound, he's a DH. How does he need rest?
Right, it kills me.
Like what scene? No. I'm just like to play devil's advocate on it. I'm just like I don't know.
I was gonna say it, but I felt like I was gonna be a jerk if I said the guy's a goddamn DH. He literally takes like 12 swings a night and sits on the bench. Like, what is he doing? He's not the guy. The guy barely breaks a sweat.
And I don't mean that in a bad way, but to me, that's why it was more. I took it more as peacocking from the interim manager, being like, "Oh,
for sure,
it's my show now. Like, I'm going to tell ESPN how it is," rather than like, "Oh," and I'm sorry, Shohei seems like he loves the game of baseball. I cannot imagine Shohei walking into the manager's office being like, "Hey, I need the night off, Skip." Like, no, I'm sorry.
Yeah, no.
I don't see that happening in the beginning of June.
No, okay, fair enough. I mean, I get that for sure.
The guy, I mean, he's a DH. I love it. It's laughable, but
right.
The guy barely breaks a sweat every night. I get it.
But yeah,
I mean, you imagine what Boston Sports Talk Radio would do if the Yankee. Now I know it wasn't Yankee, but if the Sox and Yankees had a Sunday night baseball game and Ortiz had the day off for rest, or you think he would get eviscerated?
Yeah, they run him out of town.
Eviscerated. Rightfully so.
Yeah.
The rubber match of the series are going to give a guy a day off for rest. The DH.
Anyways,
moving right along.
Moving on. So we're going to move on to the 7th inning where we got the players of the week. I have the AL, right? Byron Buxton, 6 home runs in 6 games. I mean, kind of a shoe-in. Who got it for National League? I don't know. Oh, you said
National League. Yeah, National League was Hunter Green, pitcher for the Reds.
Guy is filthy.
He received the honor. He had a .75 ERA, a .42 WHIP, and a 15-2 K to walk ratio in 12 innings last week.
Goodness.
He pitched 7 scoreless, giving up 1 hit against the D-backs. He struck out 8, walked none, and then he held the Cardinals to 1 run on 2 hits with 7 strikeouts and 2 walks in 5 innings Saturday. So he basically dominated and shut out the D-backs, and then held the Cardinals in check, which is not easy to do with that lineup. So. Byron Buxton, which amazingly, Byron Buxton hasn't been a player of the week since 2017.
Which is
I found that fascinating. But Byron Buxton, Hunter Green.
Byron Buxton, too, has also hit 44 home runs since his last grounded to double play. So that just goes to show you the type of dynamic player that guy is.
The guy's got 150 speed on the show. So, I mean, the guy never gets doubled up because he's so freaking fast.
No, Byron Buxton is that one guy who is he haunts Major League Baseball. He is so talented, but he can't stay healthy long enough for anybody to see it for any length of time.
Yeah, I know. He's on my fantasy team. It's like every day he's like day to day.
You love those guys made out of glass, Nick.
Yeah, but whatever. It goes to show my 3-5 record. So, anyways. Moving on to our rounding third question of this week this one was actually really, really funny because we put this one out after Joe Girardi got fired last week, and literally like not even 15 seconds later, it was like just in Joe Maddon get fired after a 12-game losing streak by the Angels. Yes, those City Connect jerseys were smoking.
Those were awesome.
And my hat is in the mail, so I can't wait to get that. So.
I feel like they fired Madden only to roll those out. Just saying.
Well, they didn't want to see Joe Maddon in that uniform is probably the biggest reason they fired him. But so this is where we're gonna get on the Tony La Russa train here. So after we release the question, Joe Maddon gets fired, and like memes start flying around everywhere, and it's like not good to be a manager named Joe in the league today. Like. It was like Monday, 2 Joes in the league, and then next day it's like 0. But yeah, Madden terrible.
The irony of it was that we were joking at the end of the podcast before we rolled the question out that it'd be a pretty bold move of the Angels to axe Joe Maddon given the losing streak. It probably makes sense to fire him, but would they really do it? And then literally that night the announcement comes out that he's gone, and we were like, oh wow, we didn't think that the Angels had it in them to fire him.
Yeah. So Tony La Russa, was it 2 days ago now? Like in Chicago, the entire stadium was chanting "Fire Tony,
Yep.
Fire Tony," and I mean, it's just
He
like
intentionally walked the guy with a 1-2 count.
I was just gonna get to that. He has Trey Turner on the ropes with a 1-2 count, and he intentionally walks him. And Max Muncy gets up and hits a 3-run bomb.
All
And
due
he was-
respect to Trey Turner, but he ain't Juan Soto. Like, why are you intentionally walking this guy?
But listen,
In a
I don't
1-2
care if
count.
he is. I don't care if he's Juan Soto. Like the league average batting average drops drastically with 2 strikes, and you got the guy to 2 strikes, and you're like, "Oh, we're gonna put him on first." What? Like in what world? I've never seen anything like that. I've never seen anything like it.
It's very
it's
Joe
frightening.
Madden-esque.
It is very Joe Madden-esque. You're right.
Well, it is because he does the weird crap you don't expect, and then La Russa pulls a page out of that book, and it blew up in his face. And I mean, Trey Turner's not the kind of guy you ever intentionally walk unless it's like second and third, 1 out in the 9th inning, and you're trying to roll a double play or something. But
Right.
that's not the kind of guy you intentionally walk.
But you're down 7-5 already. You're already down
Don't
7-5.
It makes no sense.
Right.
Let's give first base to one of the fastest guys in baseball.
Right.
Yeah.
A gapper
Who's got-
scores too.
Because how's that going to backfire on you?
Well, because now a ball in the gap. I mean, Muncy hasn't shown a lot of power, but a ball in the gap, Turner's going to score from first in most ballparks. He can move,
It's just
and then he's going to have one of those
unbelievable.
awesome slides into home plate where like he slides in and kind of casually pops up as he twists and walks back to the dugout.
Right. Those slides are slick, dude. By the way,
That guy is he is amazing when he slides.
I wish I was half that smooth in any aspect of my life, but that's
Oh,
not.
for
Hey,
sure.
man.
Like I couldn't do that on a slip and slide if I tried. I mean, there's no way in hell I'd ever pop up like that.
Dude, I wouldn't pop up period from a slip and slide. I'd be broken.
That's fair. At our age, Nick, you don't usually recover from those.
No, dude, not. Yeah, brutal. But yeah, Tony La Russa has got to be the next one to go, right?
Has to
I
be.
mean, Chicago. I mean, yes, Chicago's fighting injuries. Kopech just went down. I mean, I get that, but I mean, when the fans are on you like that, dude, like that's you. That's
Well, see, I think
you're
it's,
not coming back
I'll
from that.
I'll even go a step further. I think it's less about like the fans. Like he had to have lost a lot of goodwill in that locker room in that clubhouse with doing that. Like you got young players. Like that's a young roster, and like those guys got to be looking around, being like, Tony's lost it.
Do you
Like,
know when it
Tony's
started?
cuckoo now. Huh?
Well, that's like when he.
You
It's like
remember
when
when
he
it-
lost
when
his
it
mind in
started?
Minnesota with the guy that hit the home run. Like he's
Yeah,
he's just
Yerman
shown-
Mercedes.
yeah,
I was just gonna. This kid
has
came up
shown-
and he was ripping the ball.
right. He's shown just how dated he is. Like
Well,
La Russa was
I
a
don't know,
great
but-
manager, and he's lost it completely.
But I think the whole Yerman Mercedes thing last year, like, yeah, it started the ripple, but they won 90-something games last year. So, like, I think the guys in the locker room was like, yeah, like, Tony hasn't taken his meds, but, like, games, so, like, it's fine. But, like,
Yeah.
now Tony's off his meds, and they're losing games. Like, they got to look around and be like, dude, we got to get rid of
He's
Tony.
off his meds.
Yeah,
You know?
100%.
He's
Absolutely.
I mean, literally, I know that he had like all the issues with his drinking and all this stuff. Like he's had some problems off the field, but that is not the same Tony La Russa that we knew 5 or 10 years ago. He has
Well, that
completely
was really
lost
funny,
his
too.
fastball. He's lost
I
his
saw
ability to
someone on
manage.
Twitter.
Those guys don't like
I
him.
saw someone on Twitter when he intentionally walked Trey Turner with 2 strikes. It was like a day game, and they
Oh,
was
God.
like, "It's a day game. Tony's probably drunk."
I mean,
and I was like, I
Hey.
shouldn't laugh at that because like that's not funny, but it was kind of funny.
but it's funny. And that's the
Yeah.
thing. Like he's created all these distractions the last couple of years, and he's not the same guy he once was. This isn't like the Mets bringing in Buck Showalter, who still has it and can still rally an organization. Tony La Russa is an old school dinosaur who was great 10 years ago, 15 years ago. He's not the same guy. He's not the same manager, and
But
the
he was
guys
also on-
aren't playing for him.
He was also on St. Louis rosters that were pretty damn good. You know what I
Oh,
mean?
yeah, I
Talk about teams that manage themselves. Like the last 5 or 6 years of La Russa's career, those Cardinals teams were pretty damn good. Like,
Yeah,
Yeah, but-
and he was the right guy for those teams. He could push the
Yeah.
right buttons at the right time, and
I get it.
that's all he had to do. But this is
But
a
I
young
think
team
we're
that
having
needs
a-
to be brought up.
But we're having a little bit of revisionist history. He won 93 games with them last year.
Yeah.
93 games. So
Yeah.
it's like it. I think going into this year, I think the expectation. I certainly know I had it. I don't want to speak for anybody else, but Like 93 games for a team last year, relatively still the same team, right? The same core around it.
Yeah.
I mean, they lost Carlos Rodon. I mean, that's obviously a tough loss on them. But, young pitching, young core players. Luis Roberts a year older. He's nasty when he's healthy. Like, we're talking about a good, legitimate team, and I'm thinking, all right, 93, 94, 95 wins certainly is not out of the question. I think the La Russa coming back this year, like, you can't necessarily hate on him, but as soon as, like, he should have been the first, in my opinion, the first manager to go. Because I don't think he necessarily fits that team. I agree with you 100%, Nick, that I think the rift started with the Yermin Mercedes thing. But again, how do you fire a guy when you're winning 90 games? Like, you can't really fire him.
No.
So, but I think he really should have had a short leash this year. And I think they start out slow in April, and he's gone. Like, we're getting rid of him. We're bringing in a young, like, someone that can relate to these younger players. I just think that was the big swing and a miss by that.
I think also you're right, and I think also, like, kind of like us, we were all on the Chicago White Sox train at the beginning of this year, being like, they are going to steamroll this division. Like, it's not even going to be close. This is the worst division in baseball.
Yep.
They're going to put up 100 and something wins because everybody else sucks. They're terrible. And they're not. The Twins are proving to be, a decent team. And the Guardians, the Indians, the Native Americans, whatever they are still, like, they're there. They're not
Cleveland indigenous people.
Exactly. Like, we don't know. We didn't think that it was going to be as competitive as they are,
And I think when you look at La Russa last year, they won 93 games, and he was gelling well with the young guys. The young guys liked the fact that he was an old school baseball guy. They got along pretty well. He got a lot out of young guys who hadn't really arrived yet. Moncada had a good season. Like, they had these young guys starting to gel. And then this year he's making these just weird decisions. And even his mannerisms in the dugout are weird. Like, he got thrown out of a game a couple weeks ago, and it was the most bizarre interaction with an umpire I've ever seen. He was just, like, flailing his arms, saying the same thing on repeat. It's like something isn't clicking with him. It's like he's lost. It's like maybe he's lost his damn mind. Who knows? But
he lost his meds is what he's lost.
Well, it seems like something in him has changed, because last year he was, other than going nuts in Minnesota over the guy hitting the home run, like, it was pretty muted. This year, it's like every other week there's something bizarre he does that pisses the players off, the fans off, and he's just continuing to draw attention to himself for no reason. But it doesn't make sense to me why he'd fall off a cliff so drastically like he has. But he's not the same guy, and he hasn't been dealt a great hand for sure. There's been some injuries and guys that have not played well, but it just doesn't. Nothing looks right. It all feels weird and looks weird out there.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I agree.
Is there anybody else that you would fire? I mean, other than Kevin Cash, because we just straight up hate him. But is there anybody else that's legit on the hot seat? I mean,
the only guy I think that might draw a little attention is Torey Lovullo out in Arizona. That team sucks and they're terrible. But the young players have made no progress underneath him. They've not seen any real improvement from their key guys. Marte is about the only thing out there that's worth watching. But they've made no strides forward. I don't know if that's a reflection on him, but I think they're going to look at it and go, look, we've given you some young talent that's gone nowhere. Maybe that's on you.
Dalton Varsho is pretty damn good.
Yeah,
they like
kind of
him,
hidden
the
there.
Players. There's been some video like coming out of the locker room, like they love playing. They seem to like playing for him. And that's like a thing, like, especially if the young guys like playing for this guy, like, you got to be careful as a front office. You get rid of the guy they like just to bring in a guy that's a hard ass, like, that could go south real quick. I'm not so sure that's the right move. Maybe it is the right move. I probably wouldn't do it. If they really seem to like him, then I think you got to kind of roll with him and just get him better talent. I think Lovullo is a good baseball guy. I mean,
he's a great baseball
I don't know
guy.
I don't know how much responsibility he had on his shoulders here in Boston, but I mean, the years he was here, they were good. And players talked highly of him. Other coaches talked highly of him. So it's like, I mean, I think he's a good baseball guy. So I think you got to keep rolling with him. But,
I think that's just I think it's a tough market for us anyways, just because, like, Arizona is kind of hidden. They're in the bottom of the NL West. They're way out there. We don't get to see them play at all unless you're trying to watch them play. Like, You know, like you're not gonna tune into a Dodgers and Diamondbacks game because you're gonna be like this is gonna be a shit show. You know, like you're not tuning in to see the Diamondbacks, so you're not hearing about them. Ketel Marte is filthy.
He's
and
gross.
Nobody talks about him because he's
No.
just hidden in Arizona. Like
no,
the guy can play all over the
sad.
field. Yeah.
It's sad that he gets so little coverage. And I think firing Lovulo would be a mistake, but the Diamondbacks have not proven over time to be very patient with managers. And they're going to want somebody to pin their problems on. And I feel like Lovulo may end up, catching some heat he doesn't deserve.
Yeah, I can see that.
I think he is such a good baseball guy. And if he got fired, there's 29 teams that would be calling to add him to their staff for sure.
Oh,
There's no
absolutely.
doubt
He would end up in Cleveland in a heartbeat.
Right. Oh yeah, because Francona. I mean, he was so key to that whole staff under Francona that there's nobody Francona speaks more highly of than Lovulo. The one guy I think that if I'm in this market, I'd be looking over my shoulder is Dave Roberts. That Dodgers team, they're good, but they've underperformed. He's made weird decisions, kind of like La Russa.
Shocker there.
They've had a really rough stretch the last week or two. Their offense has gone dead quiet. Walker Buehler looks like he's going to be out for a little while. My fantasy team is in absolutely a
He's going to be out for a lot of while. Not a little while. He's going to be out
he's
for
on
a
my
lot
fantasy team. He was my top pick. I'm trying to look on the positive side, Nick. My fantasy team's a mess with Scherzer out and now Buehler out,
and my guys are made of glass. That's cool. You're all with 60-day IL.
Right. Yeah, but your guys are out more often. But either way, I mean, if I'm Dave Roberts and I'm potentially falling into second place behind the Giants right now, and I might be looking over my shoulder a little bit, wondering what my future looks like.
Did you forget about my pods? My pods
I mean, sorry,
are
not the Giants, the Padres.
Yeah,
sorry, the Padres.
I think, to me, with the Dodgers, I don't necessarily disagree with you. I think the Dodgers front office loves to run the team, and I think they love Dave Roberts being their puppet. And I don't think they're going to get rid of Dave Roberts. No. I don't disagree with you, but I'm saying I think the front office looks at a guy like him and they say, this is a guy that's going to do what we tell him to do. Like, you got to be careful. You get rid of a guy and you bring in that, it's a talented team. It's a team that knows how to win, veterans that have championships. Like, I think the Dodgers will be fine, almost in spite of Dave Roberts.
Yep.
I don't think Dave Roberts is going anywhere strictly because I think he's the puppet for the front office. And as long as they want to keep doing what they're doing, it's Dave Roberts' team.
Yeah, Andrew Friedman is a control freak. He was a control freak in Tampa. He's going to continue to be a control freak, and Dave Roberts is the perfect manager for him. Dave Roberts is a terrible manager. He was such a good baseball mind and such an instinctual player and an awful manager. And I have to believe it's because the stats nerds are telling him what to do.
Yeah, I think we've for sure. I think we're spot on that. I mean, to me, the manager, just to kind of put a ball on this one, AJ Hinch, and I picked him to be manager of the year. I thought Detroit was going to be a whole lot better. They went out and signed some guys. Like, yes, I know they're young. Boy. Yes, I know Torkelson's probably not ready. I know this, and I know this Riley Green guy is going to come up and be young and raw and probably not ready, and all of these things. Like, I get it, but they went out and spent some money on Javi Baez, who's been awful.
He's been really bad.
That dude. The Oakland A's are not a good baseball team. The Oakland Athletics are not a good baseball team. And by every offensive measurable statistic, they blow Detroit out of the water. Runs, home runs, slugging percentage, team batting average. It's disgusting how bad offensively this Detroit team is. And, I don't know. I like Hinch. I think he's a good – I think he's a big reason why they had such success in Houston. But maybe he's not the right guy in Detroit. I think he might be the next guy. Although I don't think they're going to fire him in the middle of the year because it's I don't think they're not going anywhere. But I'd be surprised if he comes back next year.
And in his defense, Sean, and I do agree with you. I thought that Detroit team was going to be a lot better than they have been. And in his defense, though, they've had the third hardest schedule so far in the American League.
Yeah.
The only two teams that have had it harder are the Baltimore Orioles and the Seattle Mariners. They have played 2/3 of their games against teams over 500. They have been battling teams that have been good over and over and over again. So I feel like that's a young team that's been through a hell of a grinder of a schedule that may catch fire for a little while here in the summer and regain some ground. But no, maybe. I thought Baez has been awful. Torkelson's
Erod-
clearly not ready. His at bats are
Erod
bad.
walked away from the team. Did you guys see that?
Yeah,
did
well,
not see
personal
that.
reasons, but yeah, I just
Personal
saw it on the
reasons,
ticker today.
but
yeah.
they said that he was going to come back, but then he said he's staying away for longer for personal reasons.
Oh,
Oh
okay.
wow.
So
Yeah, personal. Today was personal matters.
Yeah, so we don't know when he's coming back. He was supposed,
Yeah.
I guess, he was slated to come back today, and then said like, I think I'm good. Like, sorry, but yeah.
And that team is kind of a mess. They've had a hell of a grinder of a schedule. I'd love to see them, catch a softer section and play well, but they have definitely
we'll see.
underperformed.
Who am I? But I look at a team like that, and like wins and losses aren't necessarily what's driving me to it. It's the sheer lack of any kind of like as a
Urgency.
team, they're hitting like 221. Like
Yeah.
I get that you've had a tough schedule, but like you guys are major league hitters. I mean, let's motivate the boys here a little bit. Like let's do something to get the boys going. Let's change the lineup. Let's get something going here.
You
where we can
arguably
just
have
put
the
more than-
best hitter in the game to learn from, and you're not putting it together.
I think I said that a couple weeks ago. That's what drives me nuts the most about this team. Like how are guys like Torkelson not literally sitting next to Miggy every single chance
I
they
would
get
be in
and
his
learning how to
head
hit
every day.
every day.
Day.
He would have to file a restraining order against me, and we play on the same team.
100%.
He'd be like, "I need a restraining order against this guy. Stop."
Yeah, we'd be attached at the hip for sure. I mean,
Absolutely.
Miggy's stats don't jump off the page at you. The guy's still doing what he can do at his age, though. But he is an incredible source of information for these kids. Why are they not all crowding around him, like Ted Williams at the All-Star game that year?
Yeah.
Right.
I don't understand it.
I would follow him home every night and tuck him in, still asking baseball questions. Like I would be legit picking this guy's brain every chance I can.
Yeah, it's too bad. It's a missed opportunity there.
All right. Well, I guess we'll there's 3 or 4 managers on the hot seat, so that's kind of cool. We're gonna go to heading home. We're gonna wrap it up since the C's are on. Got a couple things.
He's watching baseball.
Sorry. I wasn't telling you to wrap it up. I'm watching college baseball. Sorry.
Oh well, the Celtics
he was waving a guy home. I think
so.
No.
I was trying to wave the guy home, but it's the fat guy, so he stayed at third.
Yeah, wave him in. Wendell isn't at third.
Wave it. Yeah, we'll go to Wendell Kim. Wave him in, Wendell. That guy, his arm only went like this. That's all he could do. He didn't have a stop sign.
No. Oh, anyways. All right, so we won't wrap it up. I have a whole topic, another hour and a half to go here.
Let's do it.
Update on our last
24-hour podcast. Let's go.
Yeah, right? Dude, that would be sick. If we got to like raise money and shit, that'd be awesome. Anyways, update on the Royals because I switched, right?
You did.
I was a Reds fan, but the Reds are still a half game up for the worst record. So the Reds are 21-39. The Royals are 20-39. So the Royals are officially the last place team in the league right now. So yeah.
And they're
update
bad.
on them.
They're really bad.
Still, and they're in the worst division in baseball. Well, maybe second worst after the NL Central. But I mean, yeah. Well, I guess the AL Central is probably still the worst. Anyways, whatever. They suck. Okay, moving on. Steven Strasburg had a setback on his bullpen. He's back on the IL and had an MRI. I haven't seen the results, but it looks like he was coming back, but he's now not back, which sucks because.
Well, and the gut reaction in Washington is that is this the end of Steven Strasburg? Is he not going to be able to come back from this? Because there were concerns after his surgery with the condition of his arm and his elbow in particular that he may not be able to make a full recovery. And the fact that he's made one start and he's already back on the shelf has got the Nationals scared that he won't ever return to the old form.
That sucks.
Right.
Because when that guy is in top form, dude, he's just as unhittable as Scherzer was, in Washington with him. Like, sucks.
Yeah, I mean, his stuff he had top 5 in baseball stuff, period. Like,
absolutely.
They rode him to that World Series.
Yeah. So kind of cool this week, Eduardo Escobar and Jared Walsh both hit for the cycle. So we had 2 cycles last week. Thought that was kind of cool.
Has that ever happened 2 in a week before? I don't think it has.
I don't know. I'll have to look. I don't know.
But it was cool.
I'm going to save that one for the end because it's a little bit of a hot topic, possibly. The Philadelphia Phillies are 9-0 under their new manager. They haven't lost since Girardi got fired. So
he sucks though. Let's just
good for them.
Girardi's terrible.
The Phillies the Phillies and the Braves are undefeated in June.
I was just gonna say the Braves are also on an 11-game winning streak right now.
Yeah, they're on
So
a heater.
I mean, if you think about
Insane.
like this is what like the Mets Twitter and Mets fans they're killers in the sense challenge that he was absolutely safe. The Mets are in the midst of the toughest part of their schedule. They're out west. They went L.A. and then they went San Diego and then they're in Anaheim and then your division rivals haven't lost a game in June, and you only dropped like 3 games of the lead. Like, just relax. Like, Scherzer's coming back. He's pitching his bullpens. He's making progress. DeGrom is making progress. The team is very, very deep, and I'm telling you, this team is different. I've been saying it for weeks on end. With the timely hitting and the ability to get guys from first to third, like when it matters, like the ability, like maybe they're not – scoring the most runs, 8 runs a game, like whatever it turns out to be. But like when they need a run, they get a run. Pete comes up big in the 7th, 8th, or 9th innings. Like I just think like Phillies. I will say I'm a little surprised about the Phillies. The Braves, I'm not. The Braves are legitimately a good baseball team.
Yes,
and
agreed.
They had been underperforming, and they were due to go on a similar run. Maybe 11 in a row. I don't know, but they were due to go on a run. Phillies, I'm a little surprised by the Phillies. I still think it's the Mets division to lose.
Oh, for
I
sure.
think Mets fans needs to just relax with the end of the world coming off the cliff here. Like, it's all right. Like, you're in a division with a couple of really good baseball teams. Like, that's
and
okay.
again,
make your peace.
The Mets have had the most difficult schedule in the entire National League so far this year.
Yeah,
and they're doing just fine.
Right. Yeah, and they got reinforcements on the way.
Oh yeah, it's only going to get better.
Some pretty good reinforcements. Pretty good reinforcements.
We thought Atlanta was going to make a strong case for that division, and they are, which is good. Philadelphia, they're 9-1 in their last 10. They finally lost a game, and they're back to 500. I mean, Philadelphia is going to scratch and claw for the final playoff spot. I just don't buy that team. I think they're on a hot streak because of the change, but I'm still not a buyer of the Phillies. I think they're a marginal team.
I agree with you. It's just I thought it was pretty awesome that they haven't lost since they fired Girardi.
Oh yeah,
it's
great. For sure it was. Yeah.
And you think a guy like Bryce Harper, who was pretty outspoken upon Girardi's exit, he's hit almost 500 since Girardi's gone. He's at like 455, and he's hit a bunch of home runs, a bunch of RBIs. I feel like the team finally feels like they're free from Girardi, who was a little bit controlling. That was his MO. I feel like they feel like this freedom now to just go out and play. That's probably helped. But at the end of the day, your talent's only going to rise to a certain level, and they'll fall back to normal and finish a distant third in that division. But been a good run for them. But I think it does prove that Girardi was the problem.
Yeah, absolutely. So Garrett Cole and the Yankees staff last week was like lights out. Like, didn't they have like 4 shutouts in a row or something like that? And then Thursday night, Cole comes back and gives up 5 bombs on Thursday night. Like,
he's Jekyll and Hyde, man. He's
lights
out one night, terrible the next. Well, that was like the Twins 2 weeks ago. 3 home runs in the first inning. Like, you just don't know what the hell you're going to get with the guy.
Right. Yeah. Can't touch him one night, and then he just is flat the next and just gets hammered.
It's the same stuff. I don't. So there's some issue. It's not a mechanical thing with him. I mean, the pitches are the same. I think for him, it's either a preparation or a mental thing. He just can't seem to string starts together, although the stuff is the same.
Yeah.
Like, I look at a guy like a Verlander or a Scherzer, who even without their best stuff, they will gut it out and get you a win. They may give up 3 runs on 10 hits over 7 innings, but they'll gut it out and get you there. Cole doesn't do that. The minute he struggles, he just he turtles, and that's it.
Oh, he's a mental midget. He's a mental midget.
Awful. He just implodes.
His first start of the year. I mean, it was when he was complaining that the game started at like 107 instead of 105. Remember that bullshit?
Yeah.
So he's a mental midget. The first thing he does is look for someone else to blame, or look for something else to blame, or it's not my fault. Oh, my rhythm was thrown off, or it was 2 minutes later than it was supposed to start.
He's the biggest baby.
Me, buddy? Oh, he's a mental midget. Mental midget.
It's awful, and he does not have the mental toughness to last in New York. He just doesn't.
Nope.
Who had Justin Verlander as a Cy Young favorite after a Tommy John surgery at 38? or
Nope.
39, however old he is.
I thought he'd be good, but not like this. I mean, my God.
Dude is killing it right now.
And the
Yeah,
only
he
team
is.
he had that tryout, and the only team that liked him was Houston. Everybody else went, he's done. How's that working out?
He's a Cy Young favorite. Crazy. All right. To end it, I'm going to ask you this question.
Oh, God.
Why is Albert Pujols not getting a farewell tour?
I saw this topic, and I was scratching my head, too.
I mean, the guy's got over 600 homers, over 3,000 hits, but Ortiz gets one, Rivera gets one, Jeter gets one. Why isn't this guy getting it? Because he announced he's done, right? After this year, he's done. Did he officially announce that?
No,
no?
I don't know.
he's indicated he won't come back, but he hasn't necessarily shut the door.
Well, then
It's
there's
almost
your
like
answer.
it's almost like, why didn't Tom Brady get a farewell tour last year? Because he retired when the season ended.
Well, because everybody knows he hates his family, and he would have been back.
Right. My theory is that Albert Pujols is asking to not have it happen. That's my theory, because he's a super humble guy and he does not like the spotlight. He does not like it to be about him. And I also think
That's
that, kind of like Brady, I don't think he's the kind of guy who wants to close the door yet. I think he would come back and be a pinch hitter or a DH for another year or two and be very happy just being in the game.
That
Yeah,
was my.
I can see that.
That's my. That's my thought, Harrison.
Yeah,
I'm not entirely like, I think Ortiz got it, Jeter got it, like everyone gets it when they say, like, this is my last year, I'm
Right.
retiring. I think there's a very specific reason why Albert has not come out and said that.
Well, and he's kind of resurged. I mean, as much as you can as a 42-year-old, and he's been pretty decent for St. Louis this year.
Well, keep in mind.
I mean, he absolutely deserves one.
Nobody actually knows how old Albert Pujols is, because remember, his documents were forged when he came over. Nobody actually knows how old Pujols really is. There's people that believe he's more like 45. He's several years older than he states.
He's Miguel Tejada 31, you mean?
Yeah, right. He's the Miguel Tejada 31. Because there are people that believe he is actually several years older than he states, because his docs were all forged when he came.
I did not know that.
So keep in mind, there's a big question mark on what age is Albert Pujols exactly.
Does Albert Pujols know how old Albert Pujols is? Or
yeah, but he's not going to tell you, because if he's like 45 or 46, people.
Well, I just didn't know if it was like, a broken home situation, and he just didn't know. No, I mean, seriously, that shit happened. So I just didn't know.
These guys that come out of these other countries, I mean, and Albert Pujols, I mean, he's not necessarily like floating over on a raft Cuban defector, but a lot of these guys that come out of these countries oftentimes don't know how old they are, and they bring over whatever documents they think they have, and they might be wrong. But there are people that believe he's several years older than he actually states, which is even more impressive that the guy could be 45 years old and, still playing Major League Baseball. But he's like Julio Franco. He will hang around the game until the game doesn't want him.
Yeah. I agree with that.
But he is one of the most deserving guys of all time of a farewell tour. But I don't think he's ever going to tell you he's done until he realizes that he's actually done, or nobody calls.
Yeah. I mean, that's fair. I saw that topic and I was like, that's interesting.
I thought about it too, and it's like, wow, that's right. Like, why isn't he getting the farewell tour? Because I don't think this in his mind is farewell.
Yeah, and I mean, if he hasn't officially announced his retirement, then that's obviously the reason why. But for some reason, I thought when he signed with St. Louis in that press conference at spring training, he said it, but I could be completely wrong. I'm just making that up because
I think
that's what I do.
I think he indicated this might be his last season, but I don't think he was willing to commit to it. I mean, Julio Franco played till he was 48 and still could hit. And people also believe that Julio Franco was older than he stated too. So who knows how old he might have been, but I don't know. I see Albert Pujols being the kind of guy who hangs around as long as possible, and maybe he's not done. But if he is done, it's going to be a tragedy that he didn't get a farewell tour.
Yeah, I agree. But you also hit the nail on the head too. Is like he just might not be that type of guy that wants that attention.
Yeah, it could be. I mean, with all the stuff he's done in his career, all the stuff he's done off the field, the adoptions, the support for kids, all the stuff he does that he's never wanted fanfare around, it might just be his MO to not want the spotlight.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. Anything else tonight, fellas?
No, we hit on a lot tonight.
That was
No,
that
yeah,
was
that
a
was
lot.
a
We didn't
that was
even
a
get
lengthy
into
one.
college baseball at all, and we could have gone another
I know
half hour. With
Tennessee's not going
I
to be in
know.
Omaha. That's a tragedy.
That's crazy.
no Tennessee, no North Carolina, no Virginia Tech,
Texas barely
No-
snuck in. Texas barely
no
snuck in.
Louisville. Yeah, but I'm talking about like blue blood college baseball.
Oh,
none of them are in.
Well, that's what I'm saying. The Texas Longhorns almost didn't get in.
Well, and Stanford,
I know,
Stanford
but-
had to rally
Yeah.
to get past UConn. I mean, it was the
UConn,
weirdest
right.
super regional I've ever seen.
I mean, Auburn's up 4-1 in Game 3 right now against Oregon State.
Yeah. I mean, Oregon State
that's
put
Oregon
up
State.
26 runs a game this year.
Oregon State won a national title as recently as like 2018. So
right.
it's
right.
going to be a funky Omaha. It's going to be a funky Omaha.
Yeah, I can't wait to see the
Always
brackets
is.
when they come out. You're going to be looking at it going, how the hell did these guys make it?
But you're going to look at it, and every a fan, like if you're a fan of Oklahoma, you can go, we can win it this year. Like it's just wide open.
Oh, it's probably the most wide open it's
Yeah.
ever been. You literally flip a coin on any of those matchups, anybody could win them.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see. We got, I think 6 out of the 8 teams are in right now. I think 9. I mean, I think 7 out of the 8 now because Stanford. So I think we're just waiting on this final here, and we'll have our field.
Crazy.
It's gonna be fun to watch.
All right. We'll cover some of that next week, I'm sure. I'll put Sean
Yep.
on that since I don't
I got
really
you.
watch too much since my boys were
I
out
got you.
week 2. So,
I got you.
yeah. Please like, subscribe, share our podcast, interact with us all through the week. We post stuff all the time. If you guys find anything interesting, tag us in it, and subscribe to our YouTube channel. And we're here every Monday at 8. So come and join us and go Celtics.
All
See you,
right,
boys.
See ya.